Purple, 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 bow purple, purple under painting, purple under painting, purple underpainting for this piece. This particular painting is painted with purple underpainting because it's Magneto from the X-Men. Well, not from the X. I mean, he's in the X-Men, but he's not in the X-Men. But he is in the X-Men. So I think it's fair to say Magneto from the X-Men. His costume is largely purple. Purple and puce. But it's not really puce. It's more of like a burgundy or a maroon. But puce is more fun to say. I take any chance I can get to say puce. Especially if it's alliterative with another one of the words I'm using, which is purple. Purple and puce fit so well together. Purple and burgundy doesn't really... It's not a thing, is it? I'm not sure if it was entirely successful, but one of the main reasons for the purple underpainting on these characters, at least, is because Magneto has so much purple going on with his outfit, with his suit. I wanted that to sort of bleed through the piece. I wanted more elements of that so it didn't feel too disparate, too separated. I felt a need to keep the purple underneath, like in the blood. So that's what this underpainting is. It's the blood of the piece. So then I painted his outfit, the spandex bits that are like burgundy or maroon or whatever, the red bits. The anatomy isn't wholly on point. It's not necessarily what you would call correct. I'm doing big air quotes as I say that. I can feel my knuckles clicking because I have shit bones. It's not exactly what you might call correct. But it's almost more important that it looks cool. It's dynamic and the shapes sort of work. So if the anatomy isn't necessarily exactly on point, then it's not really, it doesn't matter, does it? It's whatever. Oh, his little face in there. Should I talk about the actual painting or just fucking babble about puce and shit? Big blue hand. He's got a big blue hand. See, because he's using his electromagnetic magnetic powers. So I gave him a big gluey blue, a big glowy blue hand to denote the use of those powers within this piece. And then like a blue glow on his armour and costume and such, which I don't know if it was entirely successful, but I do add to the blue glow as well a bit later on, but just to show that it is a glow. He doesn't just have a blue hand. The light emanating from that blue hand is affecting the colouring of the objects around it, like his armour and shit, as shown by me painting some blue onto it right now. I chose to paint the underpainting over the characters individually rather than the piece as a whole, because this is one of the bigger paintings I've done, which it's not huge, but even so I work quite small typically, so it's a bigger painting to me personally. When the whole thing is underpainted, it almost sort of looms at me like this big dark object, like a big thick dark veiny throbbing object, and it's intimidating. So by underpainting just the characters individually, it sort of, it almost puts the painting into chapters. Like I just work on this chapter, then when that's done, work on this chapter. And then you can see I also did like the outlines, not all of them, but a bunch of the outlines and added shadows and things on Magneto that I'd normally wait until right at the end of the painting to do. And do it across all the characters. But I wanted to somewhat finalise each of the characters as I painted them to just sort of lock them in, to be like, okay, that's this, like I say, I guess you could call it this chapter, quote unquote chapter of the painting done, more or less, basically finished. Now I can move on to the next one, which is a zombie. Because the person who commissioned this piece, as this is a commission, wanted Magneto fighting zombies. He didn't specify. He said even, I can choose what kind of zombies, how many zombies, whatever. I made them X-Men zombies because it's sort of made sense, because he's Magneto and he's not in the X-Men. He fights the X-Men. He's in the X-Men, but being that he's not in the X-Men, he fights the X-Men. Lots of texture on this zombie. Greens, yellows, browns, and a bit of bluey, turquoisey in different layers and different parts to make the skin look sort of mottled and decaying and shit. Because if there's one thing zombies have, it's shit skin, isn't it, really? They've just got shitty shit skin. Teeth all sort of browned and yellowed, decaying and dirty and horrible. But yeah, lots of small brush strokes on the skin to really give it that sort of like textured look, which, you know, you can use a lot of brush strokes and still have it look smooth, but if you use lots of brush strokes and sort of keep them sort of separate, it adds to the texture. And, you know, decaying, cracked skin, it's sort of falling apart and creasing up and stuff. So I think the texture on zombified skin sort of works for that. He's got a pink eye. It's not for certain, but I guess this one of the X-Mans is Cyclops, but like his laser stopping goggles have been blasted off or fallen off. He's a zombie. They probably fell off somewhere along the way. I painted his eye pink to sort of somewhat denote that it's Cyclops, because it might just look like a general X-Man, just generic X-Man in the X-Men. In my head it's Cyclops. It doesn't strictly have to be, isn't necessarily fit, but it's whatever. I made his eye kind of pink just so it's like, you know, his red lasery eyes. Plus he's dead, isn't he? He's like dead, but he's not really dead, but he's kind of dead, so maybe his mutant powers died with him. I don't know. I put them in they're like old, not even the classic 90s costumes, but they're old, like original costumes, because I liked how they looked, and they're sort of simple, there's less detail to them, and they're a bit more uniform, so that it's a little bit easier to draw and paint. That's a little trick, little tip there. Do whatever's easiest. Don't put in any effort anywhere ever. Do what's easiest, and then we'll all be happy in the end. Blue and yellow. That's the, cool. I was happy with the texture on the blue of his suit. Again, quite a few separate brush strokes, trying to give creases and texture to his outfit. And similarly with the browns, burnt and raw umber and yellow ochre, and a little bit of mid yellow and a little bit of white, highlighting up from brown to yellow. You can see small brush strokes, little bits of texture, little creases, little shit here and there, just a bunch, just paint, just put paint on the thing until it's done. And a tip, I guess, for painting zombies is, it may sound obvious, but just a little bit of torn clothing adds a lot. Like, it depends when the person was zombified, when they came back, when they became undead. They might be wearing nice clean clothes, and that's perfectly fine. But just like tearing the shoulder off the arm, the outfit there can really add a lot. And then you tear the skin. You put little little torn bits of skin where the muscles are showing through. Just adds to the zombie and shit. More outlines, again, trying to get this chapter, this Cyclops zombie chapter, locked in, just about done, more or less finalised. And the more I do this, the more sort of definitive the image looks, the more it's sort of done and clear in my head. So it's good for me to have that bit done. work on bite-sized pieces of the painting and then move on to the next one. Like this, purpley underpainting the other pieces of the piecing paint piece. That's Beast up in the top left, Nightcrawler on the right, and then Zomberine down on the bottom right there. See, what I did there was I took the word zombie and the word Wolverine and sort of mashed them together to create the word Zomberine, which was really cool and effective. I think this is my favourite version of Beast, is when he was wearing this outfit. The blue furry gorilla man is cool, I guess, and he does look a bit more Beast-like, but you know, he can still have the name Beast and not look like a beast. The blue furry design's cool enough, I guess. But I like it. I think he looks cool. I like big chunky fellas. The Thing, the Hulk. Others also. I think old school Beast works in that way as well. I made Nightcrawler's skin like turquoise because obviously his skin's blue, but I didn't want to paint it blue because that might be too blue. So I thought go with like where I'm turning the other one's skin sort of green and mottled. I figured I'd do that, but doing that with blue would make it like a turquoise. So I made his skin turquoise. I don't know how effective that was necessarily, but it works well enough. You can just about tell it's Nightcrawler. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. It's good. It's fine. It's good enough. It's fine. Wolverine. You can't really see him now because my arm's going to be over him a bunch, so I'll talk about him in a bit. Beast then. Fine. Beast's costume. Blue on the blue bits. Should they be black? And then I just highlighted with a little bit of blue? I don't know. I made them blue because it's easier to paint that way. With the skin, you might notice I didn't put much effort or detail into Beast's face. That's because I'm leaving a gap there where there will be some blue glow from Magneto's power hand. But I painted just a little bit of the skin in there, again, just to define the shapes and parts of the face for me to know where I'm putting the blue paint when I do the glow eventually. More little brush strokes on the creases and the more front facing, the more forward parts of Beast's body, the creases in the arms and such. More little brush strokes just to give texture and whatnot. A little bit less in the back end bits. Starting with the browns, and then I'll highlight up to the yellows. I really like the pose on Beast. I was really happy with that. I always like leaping, because that's what Beast does, isn't it? He leaps around. Well, he's got these big wide shoulders, big thick arms, and big chunky hands that I like drawing and painting. And his bum sticking up in the back there, with that big bulky foot jutting out at the back. I was really, really happy with that. And there is a thing I do so often, which is I feel if one of the body parts isn't shown, like one of the limbs isn't shown, then it feels like it's missing. I feel like I have to at least allude to the other body parts. Like I have to at least show like a knee or a foot or something of the leg that's behind him. But it's not necessary, because that happens so often where someone's running or jumping or whatever, and it almost looks like they're missing an arm or a leg based on how the body's turned and how limbs are flailing around. So when it comes to drawing, in my head, I'm sure many of you deal with the same things, but certainly in my head, it's like I have to show every part of the body so it doesn't look like they're missing a part of the body. And if they are missing a part of the body, I have to make it really obvious that they are missing a part of the body and not that it's just behind them or I forgot to draw it or whatever. But this, in a way, was me sort of somewhat letting go of that, because like Beast's leg, his left leg, for all intents and purposes, could be missing because you can't see it. There's his butt cheek, but there's no thigh, knee, calf, foot, toes, anything. But you just sort of accept that it is there. It's just how he's pouncing is sort of whatever. Blue glow, some blue rim lighting on Cyclops, just to get, because he's sort of on this side of the force, energy, power, and then, you know, sort of generating the central light in the middle of the painting, and it goes outwards onto all of them in their different bits and parts and things. Just blue, and then a lighter blue, and a lighter, just so it looks like it's glowing. A little bit on Nightcrawler there. Not so much on Wolverine, but there will be a little bit of like rim lighting on him just to make it stand out just a little bit right towards the end. But we'll get to that. Putting the background in. Sometimes when I paint a piece, I have it almost all planned out in my head. Characters, background, everything, and then when I actually paint it, it's just a matter of doing that. It's already done in my head. It's finished. It's done from start to finish, all the way through. It's all finished and done and finished in my head. Now I just have to make that not be in my head anymore. I just got to make it a reality. I put it onto a bit of paper, and then it's done. But this one wasn't so much like that. I didn't really know what to do with the background. I thought maybe like a purplish blue, but then that would almost certainly blend in too much with the characters, especially with the purple underpainting that they've all got, which is covered largely, but it's here and there throughout. It works still towards the end. So then I ended up just happening to go with this beige, brown, orange, red tone, and I think it really works. I think it's really effective. It almost looks like they're on Mars with like the red dust coming up underneath, kind of, which they're not. Well, they could be, but they're not. I mean, they could be for all intents and purposes, but they aren't. But they could be. They're not, but they could. But yeah, I think it is separate enough from the characters, but it works. The colour of the background works with the characters at the same time. It doesn't blend in too much with them, but it contrasts. And then Magneto's cape swooshing out from behind him to the left. And I was very careful to like use the colours of the background as like an underglow on the cape, just to, you know, tie it all together a little bit tighter. And also I tried at least somewhat to use the cape as like a directional device for the thing. See, because I guess Cyclops, he has this shit going through his head, which I guess are like, I'm painting them now. That's convenient. Like just bits of metal or something, I guess, maybe. So I don't know, chunks of metal stuff, nuts and bolts or something that Magneto's power throwing through Cyclops' head, blowing it apart like that. So that's sort of emanating from Magneto's hand, and I wanted the cape to somewhat match and or enhance that directional force from the centre out to the left of the piece, which I think works. I think the lines in his cape sort of add to that. This around his hand, this is another bit where I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing. I had an idea of what I thought I wanted to go for, which I guess was this, like, I guess what they call a Kirby crackle or something, just a bunch of balls. And the more I did it, the more I wasn't happy with it as I was doing. Like this part of the painting right now that you're watching, I just wasn't really feeling it, but I was like, I didn't really know what else to do, so I just sort of carried on with it. I added a bit more glow to Magneto's hand, which, you know, I was cool with that. But then I added in these, and I thought, because I wasn't that happy with the bubbles, I guess, if I can call them that. So I thought, I'll add these like circles of force, energy, or something, but they look shit. So I outlined his hand in a darker blue, which I always plan to do, and I think that works. That's fine. It sort of, you know, just defines the hand a bit more. A few other highlights and stuff, but what I'm about to do is paint over those lines emanating out, the circle lines, which aren't even done in terms of the circles. They're not good lines. They're just shit. They didn't remotely add. If anything, they detracted from the painting. They added like unnecessary detail, just unnecessary shape, just clumps of paint where they didn't need to be. So I paint them out, and then I edit the bubbles, the crackles, with some lines, trying to make them look a little bit less bubbly and a little bit more like sharp and crackly, like electric energy kind of, which I think when it's done is basically effective. A little bit of rim lighting on Wolverine there just to make him stand out a bit. But yeah, I think ultimately the power hand thing is basically fine. It basically works. It's just about works. It's more or less fine. And then dark red to basically tie the whole thing together, using like a circular honeycomb kind of thing to paint Cyclops' head bursting apart. I'll paint over parts of that and then paint in other parts, the brighter colour behind it, just to make it look like there's energy, there's a glow behind it as it's popping open. And then what happened was because I recorded this in segments, for memory on my phone or whatever, and I had the phone all ready to go, ready to record the last segment, and then I forgot to press record. And so then I painted Nightcrawler, and he was done. I was going to say about Wolverine, I'll just say it quickly, how, as I mentioned, with the torn off bit of the costume on Cyclops, and Wolverine's got like a whole chunk of his torn away, and I think that's really effective, and part of his mask as well. It's quite an effective zombie creation tool technique to use to make shit look more zombie, whatever. Nightcrawler got done. He almost looks like he's wearing a Spider-Man costume, but it's more or less a Nightcrawler. It's fine. It's fine. I was really happy with the piece ultimately. Ultimately, the piece as a whole, I think it's really bloody good. But that almost doesn't matter. What does matter is the person who paid for it really liked it. They said they did. They could have been lying, but they said they liked it, and that's what counts. Client's happy. The me's happy. X-Men all dead. So Magneto's happy. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's done. Fuck it. Shut up. Go away.